When it comes to processing emotions with others, the difference between feeling satisfied or frustrated at the end of that interaction really comes down to whether you are venting in a healthy way or emotional dumping. So if you're curious to find out what emotional dumping is, what it looks like, and how to manage it, then I encourage you to stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back. If you are new here, then my name is Kayla. I make videos about all things BPD, so make sure that you are subscribed and that you have your notifications turned on to not miss out when I do release new videos every Monday. Okay, so in regard to today's topic, we all know that talking about our feelings is not only a universal practice, but a healthy one. And this is why it's really important to know the difference between venting and emotional dumping. Although both techniques, so venting and emotional dumping, are really trying to get at the same goal, which is to express overwhelming feelings of anger or sadness, they're done in really different ways. So let's first define what venting is. Venting has several key characteristics that sets it apart from emotional dumping. So when you're venting, and I'm talking about venting in a healthy way, the person who is doing the act, is not adopting a victim mindset, meaning that they're able to recognize their role, they're able to take responsibility, they're open to different perspectives, they are really solution focused when they are talking about issues with other people, and they're addressing one thing at a time. So it's not this overload of 30 different problems onto the person that is listening to them. What I'm essentially saying is that the person who is venting is self-reflective, open to feedback, takes responsibility, and solution focused. Conversely to venting, emotional dumping feels a lot more toxic. And what I mean by this is that the person who is emotionally dumping is unaware of both their own internal emotional state and the state of the listener. Emotional dumping does not include the consent of the listener and really ignores all containment of time, topic, and objectives. And because dumping is done in such a way that it's not considering the consent or boundaries of the other person, it's really a form of stealing time and energy. Unlike venting, emotional dumping adopts a victim mindset, meaning that they put all the blame on other people. They're not interested in your perspective or other people's perspective. They don't take accountability when they're recounting their issues. They're not solution focused, and it's just an endless stream of issues and a lot of issues without being specific to one topic. So essentially, emotional dumping is resistant to feedback, avoidant of taking any form of personal responsibility, not solution focused, and a cyclical return to the same problem over and over and over again. Now, I guess maybe I should have talked about this at the beginning, but the reason why I find it so important to understand the difference between venting and emotional dumping is when we have disorders like BPD or other mental illnesses, it can feel very overwhelming to deal with all of our different feelings and thoughts and emotions. And so when we see someone, we might have a tendency to just verbal vomit all of the things that are going on. So understanding the differences in between a healthy way of expressing our emotions to others and an unhealthy way can then help us to address patterns in our life. I know that I have definitely been guilty of it. I still am, and it's something that I'm trying to consciously work on. But having a fundamental understanding of the difference between those two was a good first step to changing the pattern. Now, while emotional dumping can feel somewhat cathartic in the moment, research actually shows that oversharing feelings in an unhealthy way, so emotional dumping, can actually exaggerate feelings of anger, not alleviate them. And I think that we can all, or maybe some of us, can relate to this, that when we're just complaining to someone, we are actively ruminating out loud. So instead of just festering about it internally, we're doing it externally, which comes with the same outcomes, that when you're ruminating about how angry you are, it feeds into this loop of creating more feelings of anger that then might get transformed into feelings of jealousy that get transformed into sadness. So then you lose track of the original feeling because you're just going over and over and over again. So this is why that emotional dumping is not only negative for yourself, but it also creates a lack of intimacy with others, because when you are emotional dumping, you're not aware of other people's needs or state. So this can actually create distance between you and the listener and your relationship with them. If you recognize yourself in this emotional dumping pattern, the first thing I want you to do is to take a deep breath and to practice self-forgiveness. It's okay that you have done this in the past. It's okay that you're doing this right now. The main thing is that you're here learning about it today to break this pattern. And honestly, learning new skills takes a lot of time, takes a lot of patience and practice. So just show a bit of kindness to yourself and thank yourself for at least being here today. Now, some more tangible strategies that I would recommend to diminish the instances of emotional dumping would be to firstly keep a journal. So a journal is a great tool to help us organize our thoughts. When there's a lot of scrambled brains going on in our mind and we don't know what to do with all these thoughts and emotions, instead of just jumping to someone and being like, I need help, I don't understand what's going on, go to your journal, write out your thoughts. It doesn't need to make sense, it doesn't need to be organized. It's just a space, a judgment-free zone for you to write, to help you organize your thoughts and make sense of them. And honestly, there's a lot of times where I'm feeling a lot of anxiety and I'm overwhelmed and I have this urge to just find someone and dump all my problems. If I just take the time to journal, most of the answers get resolved on their own. I feel a lot calmer. So that can be a great first step to help reduce the instances of emotional dumping. When trying to stop emotional dumping, something else that you can do is to simply get curious about the listener's emotional capacities. So you can ask them questions like, do you have the time to listen to me right now? Do you have the emotional space to give me support? How are you doing? So just checking in with them before you start venting can be a great way to break this cycle or pattern that you're in. And I know sometimes it can feel awkward and scary to ask the other person, and you might have a tendency to not do that and just jump right into emotional dumping. I will tell you though that just asking that simple question and having them answer yes or no can do a lot for increasing the depth and intimacy in your relationship and just improving it overall. Thirdly, when trying to stop this pattern, it's also important to not bring up multiple issues at once. And this is where the importance of the journal comes in. So when you journal, you can organize your thoughts. You can say, this problem is a 10 out of 10. This one is actually a 2 out of 10. So maybe I'm just going to focus on this one specific thing. Something else that you can do is trying to find different people in your life who have a bit more expertise in the different things that you're struggling with. So for example, if you have BPD and you are dealing with feelings of emptiness, that is a symptom of the disorder, then it might be beneficial for you to find someone in your life. So whether that's your therapist, or maybe you have a friend or a community of people who also have this disorder that you can talk about this specific thing with, that maybe you wouldn't talk to your grandmother about because your grandmother might not understand what you're going through or what that looks like. So finding different people in your life who have a bit more knowledge or expertise in the different domains that you're having a difficult time with can be also a good way to split up who you're going to vent with and how you're going to go about it. Lastly, I just encourage you to practice self-compassion, adopting a growth mindset. So having the knowledge that you're going to fail at times and it's not going to be perfect, and that practicing the skills, as I had mentioned, takes a lot of time. So just be kind with yourself throughout this process. Emotional dumping is really a hindrance on your emotional development and puts a strain on your relationships. So I hope that you found today's information useful. I hope that you have a better understanding of the differences between venting and emotional dumping. And as always, I'm curious to hear from you. So let me know things that have helped you break this pattern, or if you have different understandings of the difference between venting and emotional dumping, you can just leave me a comment in the comments down below. I always read and respond to all of them. The best way to support my channel is really to share my videos, because the more people get to see them, the more that we help to spread awareness on BPD and break down the stigma. And this is really what I'm trying to do with this channel. I'm trying to give free education to people who need it about BPD. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. I wish you all a wonderful week, and I will see you back here next time for another episode of On the Line.